Let me know if you see me. All right, just popping in here. We are going live a little bit earlier today. Let me just see here. Let me see if we popped into the group here. Drop a hello if you see me. Yes, I see myself. Awesome. All right. So I see myself. I am live in the Fierce Women community. I see Margaret. Thank you. Sandy, 3 other people, 5, 6. Awesome. It's climbing right now. Okay. Drop your name below if you are here with me. We're going live earlier just because, I have a time conflict. So let's see who can join us at 4:30, because I know for some, this is a little bit early. For the Eastern time zones, they're super happy because this is not too late for them, right? So yes, awesome. I see Jennifer is here, Sherry, awesome, Cece, awesome, Sparkles. Yes. You know me, I love dressing up. So I find different outfits and all of that. So awesome. Hi, Peggy. Good to see you. Awesome. So if you are popping in here, this is a live Q&A session. So this is the 3rd Q&A that we've done. The last 2 was very successful. I wasn't sure how I would like it. I think I'm liking it, and I think a lot of people like it. So we're going to keep doing it once in a while. And if you missed our last Q&A, you could put Q&A there and we will send you the last live, because I know the last live we covered a lot of great things, which were like the secret of eliminating belly fat, how to improve loose skin, should you skip breakfast in the morning or not, those types of questions. So if you want to watch that live, you can put Q&A below and we'll send you that live from before. Okay. Awesome. I see Kathy. I see Barbara. Awesome. So if you're joining us here or on YouTube, this is the Fierce Women community where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. And if you don't know, we are already growing to 16,000 people. I am very excited. I think by the end of the year, we will be at 20,000. That is my projection. And so thank you everyone for being a part of our Facebook group, but also everyone who are celebrating with us with the anti-bloat challenge. So in terms of wins, that's one of the first things I want to say is a shout out to all of you who are in the anti-bloat challenge. I called it the 16K member appreciation anti-bloat challenge. So if you are enjoying it, give me lots of hearts or hit the love button. If you're enjoying the anti-bloat challenge, definitely drop some hearts. I know lots of people, this is our most popular challenge, is the one that most people want to join. So shout out to all of you ladies who are doing that challenge right now. Hi, Karen, I see you popped on in as well. Shout out as well to a couple awesome ladies. If you can give a shout out to Pam Irwin, if she's on here, and Gwendolyn McEwen. They both have joined the transformation program. So give them lots of hearts. Super proud of them. The transformation program is the highest custom coaching program. And I know they are just making it work and like they know it's time to make the changes. Really a lot in nutrition, to be honest. Like it's the nutrition that's the biggest piece for them. So Pam and Gwendolyn, we're very excited for you. Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you. And then I also want to give a shout out to all the FF ladies that just finished. We did the interview last week. You saw we have a lot of posts coming out this week celebrating their wins. But the week before, we were celebrating their 7th week. Now, on their final week, we have to celebrate their like as in the 8-week program, how much they've lost. So I want to just name it off really quickly. If you have not seen their win posts for this, you can drop wins below so we can tag you on the results of these ladies. And we're super excited. A lot of them are continuing on into the next program so that they can continue to drop the inches. So Yvonne has dropped 48.51 inches. It's crazy. 11.39 inches off her midsection and 6.4 pounds down. So amazing, Yvonne. I know we had her on last week. You've seen pictures of her belly just dropping down. And it's more than inches, right? Like from the last interview we talked about was like the pain, reducing pain, being able to come off medication. All of this is huge. So give Yvonne lots of hearts as well, and continue to cheer on the ladies in this group. Kathleen dropped 17.7 pounds down. This is in 8 weeks. So this is amazing. 29.1 inches off and 7.5 inches off her waist and hip. And all her back fat is gone. It's just a nice smooth back. So super proud of you, Kathleen. And Kathleen is moving on to the next program as well. Tracy Torren, she wasn't on the interview last week, but she has lost 30.2 inches and 6.9 pounds down. Woohoo! Super proud of you, Tracy, because I know Tracy was like she was saying like how she was just so nervous. She wasn't sure if it's going to work. And then she just says, you just have to trust the process. And I said, yes, you got to trust the process, right? And she's moving on to the next program as well. And yeah, super excited for you. And then Kathy Michalico, you know, I always give her a shout out. She is on here, and she's one of my, the person I point to, for example. She went through the FFF program, went through the muscle accelerator program. She took a break. She came back and did the 21-day anti-inflammation system, and then went back into a round 2 for FFF. So if you want to talk about a woman who's committed to her fitness, you could say it's Kathy. So she's awesome. Her program was a little more different. It was more about like helping her build more muscle. So she has more defined shoulders, and her back muscles have started to come in. And of course, continue to work on bringing down her belly. So Kathy, we're super proud of you. She is on this live right now. I saw her jump in. And one more, and then we will dive into your questions. So Rosanance, I don't think she's on here right now, but Rosanance she's in my transformation program, and she has lost now in 4 weeks. You guys are ready for this? In 4 weeks, she has lost 35.5 inches. It's crazy. She said she doesn't even recognize the person in that first picture. She's like, I've always been this size and big belly, you know, like, and now she's dropped so many inches. She's lost 8.3 inches in the last 2 weeks when she went on vacation, which was something I wasn't sure, you know, like we could, you know, I just say, hey, these are the principles of food. I want to keep these things in mind. And she did it. She kept losing inches through her vacation. It was her birthday vacation on top of that, you know, so super proud of you, Rosanance. And she lost 8.3 inches these past 2 weeks and 5.5 inches in her belly. So, and one more thing, she told me, this is a big win. You guys got to give lots of hearts for this, that she actually doesn't mind burpees as much anymore. Some of you are probably laughing, but she's like, you know, the burpees were something that she was like, oh no, but now she's like, I actually don't mind burpees. I'm like, this is like awesome. This is awesome, you know, because she's feeling stronger. She's feeling healthier, better energy. So super proud of you, Rosanance, and definitely give these ladies lots of hearts and cheer them on. I love seeing all these ladies, you know, just taking charge of their health, right? So hi Michelle, see you jumped in, and Joanne, awesome. So we're gonna answer a bunch of questions. Sherry, I saw you on here. Sherry, I saw your question about the spine situation. I just want to kind of give you a heads up. I probably won't answer that on this live because that's specific to an injury, and I just wouldn't want to. It's something more specific we would probably talk more about personally than on a live, especially when it comes to injuries with the spine. Okay, but we're gonna start with Jaylan. Jaylan, are you on here? Jaylan. So Jaylan asked, should you or can you eat before working out? Oh, Sandy says, very impressive. So happy for them all. And Sandy, you're in the next FFF. So super excited for you, right? Okay, so the question is, should you or can you eat before working out? And how much time before working out? Okay, so in terms of timing and all of this, I'm going to answer this. So okay, before I answer it, I'm going to give you what do you call it? A disclaimer, okay? Everybody's body is different and everybody's body responds differently. A lot of times on the Q&A, you may want an answer, and I'm going to tell you a general answer, okay? General answers are exactly that. They're general, okay? So you got to remember there are still little things in between, and how people respond and their bodies are all different. So just keep that in mind, okay? So the answer to that is yes, you can eat before you work out. I don't know if you know, Clarice eats all the time. I mean, well, Shone knows this. I eat all the time. I eat right before my workout, probably like, I would say 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes before. And I just go and I train. I need food, man. If you don't put food in my system, I am not a happy camper. Okay. So I eat actually, I've always, all throughout my lifting journey and competition journey, have always eaten before I work out. Now, am I like, would I necessarily say like it's like just 5 minutes before? No, probably I would say like for me, this is short for a lot of people. It's about 30 minutes before or 20 minutes, 30 minutes before. But you have to remember, this is why I say this, depends on your metabolism and depends on your digestion, right? Like I might just have a faster metabolism, faster digestive system. Now, if you are watching and you're like, I could not eat right before workout, I'll be sick, then yeah, you might need a little bit longer. Like you might need maybe an hour before or maybe an hour and a half before you go work out. That's why I said it depends. But you should have some nutrition in your body, before you go work out, because otherwise you don't have the energy to really push hard, right? So, and then the other thing I want to, Margaret says, can I eat before working out because it makes me want to throw up, especially when I'm working out on my abs, right? So that's what I'm saying, Margaret. So if you find that like food, too soon in your system is not good, then just take a bit longer before you go work out, like maybe an hour before, hour and a half before you go work out. But you should have some nutrition in you. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about like, when I say I eat before I go work out, you have to remember the type of quality of food, right? So I just remembered, hi, Debbie, I see that you jumped in. I'm supposed to tag everyone so that everyone can see. So I just did that. Okay. So it's I'm not eating junky food. I'm not eating like heavy, greasy, a lot of fat, a lot of like things like that, right? I'm not eating that kind of stuff. So you definitely don't want a big meal. Like you don't want like a massive meal, like a Thanksgiving dinner meal to go work out. That wouldn't do well. But if you're eating like typically small meals throughout the day, which is a lot better for you, that's my belief, that if you really want to have really good metabolism, good energy systems, good muscle building potential, I eat very, very frequently and very small meals. So it works well. So I can actually always eat and even eat before my training, right? So yeah, so just making sure you don't have anything too heavy and too heavy in, let's say, carbs or fat. Like if it's too heavy, then you are going to feel sluggish, right? So the answer is yes, you can eat before you work out. Just keep it maybe a little bit smaller and a little bit cleaner for yourself. But yeah, like I eat my fish before I go. I eat my brown rice. I eat stuff, right before I go. So now, I see lots of people jumped in. Hi, Tracy, Jennifer, Geraldine, Arlene, and Portia also jumped in. So another question on this one, 14 eyeballs I see, is, does it depend on the type of workout you're doing that determines how much you should eat of protein, carbs, and fat? Okay, it's a good question because I always talk about macros, right? So does it depend on what type of workout that determines how much you should eat? So it's kind of a tricky question. So Tracy, hi. Tracy, I gave you a shout out. I said, you're moving on to the next program and you're continuing on. And I gave you a shout out. So Tracy was in the FFF program. So, so the answer is you're going to, so this has to do a little bit with timing. So overall, timing wise, you should get enough protein, carbs, and fat. And it doesn't matter how you distribute it in a way, as long as you get it all in. Okay. So that is more important to me. Like as long as you get all your protein requirements in, all your carbs in, and all your fat in, you are going to do better than if your macros are all off. Like, so it's like the totality of what you taken in a day is most important. Okay. But there is, of course, in training specifically, you could change up the ratios before you train or after you train to maximize training. The reason why I say this depends is because if it depends on the who is watching right now. If you are a general workouter, general working out, and you know, what you're doing is not like a super high level athlete, it really may not matter. It matters more that you actually stick to a really good routine and eat all your macros. Okay. But if you are a high level athlete and you're training all these different things, then yes, it becomes important. I'll give you a couple examples. So if you are a cardio, like endurance athlete, absolutely, you would actually have to make sure that if you're doing tons and tons of cardio, which, you know, if you're not training for something, I would say like be careful of overtraining cardio. For a lot of older women, that's actually not to your benefit. But I would say you need more carbs if you are training tons of cardio. If you're an endurance athlete, you need to make sure you have more carb base, probably pre and post workout, right? And so then you have to now, and you probably want to favor faster glycemic, like higher glycemic, faster sugars, right? Whereas for a lot of women who is in menopause or has belly fat and has all of this, that is not going to be their friend. So this is why this is tricky when people ask me general questions like this, is like, you eating lots of sugar and lots of things when you have a big belly or you're in menopause is not going to be to necessarily your benefit. However, I would have to look at your training. Now, are you an actual endurance athlete? Now, if you're an endurance athlete and you don't struggle with belly fat, yeah, we're probably going to load you with sugar and carbs like before you train so that you can have like the max run, the max swim, that type of thing. Okay. So just keep in mind, context is really important. Okay. Context is very important. And of course, for that endurance athlete, they still need to have protein and fat as well. Just they have to emphasize carbs more. Now, if you're a strength athlete, which a lot of you probably are, because I focus a lot on building muscle in this group, right? I would say, yes, the emphasis would be more on protein. Like you want to make sure you have enough protein to support muscular growth. But is it that right before you train, you need to have more protein, and right after you need to have more protein? I would say for most people, it doesn't matter. For most people, just get your protein and evenly throughout the day is the best. You still should have protein before and after your training. But unless you're doing, I mean, I would have to see your training and what you're doing. Unless you're like a super high level, maybe you are a competitor, then maybe we might emphasize a little bit more protein, you know, post-workout or something like that. And that may help. But the differences between, like, if you're not training to that level and like you're trying to like figure out like how much more you need after your workout, is not going to make that much difference versus just eating healthy throughout the day, ensuring all your macro balance of your meals are there, all the balance of the macros are present, right? So that's why I said it depends. Now, if you have a high intensity interval training, yeah, I'll answer yours, Debbie. High intensity interval training, which is like you do more like just quick bursts and things like that, which is probably like you, Debbie, which is like a dance, because you really do a dance and then you stop and then you do another dance and then you stop. Is, I would say, when you're doing high intensity interval training, it is going to require a little bit more carbs, same as an endurance athlete, because what is the fastest type of energy that your body needs? It needs carbs. That's the fastest. So if you're doing a high intensity interval training, then it may need a little bit more carbs in that moment of training or pre-workout to get the most out of it, right? So it's kind of why, Debbie, when she went to Canadians, I told you certain things I want you to have right before you went on the dance floor, because it does matter when you're competing. So it depends how you guys are all training. If you're training more the day is more strength training, then maybe you need to emphasize like more protein. If you're training more cardio, high intensity, maybe a little bit more carbs. But here's the thing, all 13 eyeballs watching, or whoever's watching replay, is then now it becomes complicated. right? When people ask me this question, it's like, okay, so how much before and after? And then on this day, I do this. And then now I have to like adjust my macros here and then adjust the carbs and the protein ratio. And then it becomes like more complex. Can you do it? Yes. But for most people, I'm saying most people that are not competing, if you're a competitor, then talk to me separately. But for most people, it's better if you stabilize on a more stable caloric and macro distribution and eat evenly throughout the day, as I've taught a lot of you who I coach. I prefer that so that there's consistency in your body, right? And there's consistency that you're always getting the right nutrition in. So yeah, so that's my answer to Jalen, I think that was your question. So I would say, if you're listening, my first question to you is, do you know your macros? Okay. And do you eat consistently on your macros and the right macro distribution every day? That would be more my question to you. Do you know your macros and do you eat consistently to your macro distribution every day? Okay. Because if you don't eat consistent to your macros and you're asking timing of food, then you're kind of off kilter already. You're off kilter of like, what does your body actually totally need? You can emphasize protein before or carbs before you work out. That's fine. But if you are in deficit throughout the day, then you're still not giving your body what it needs. Right? So if you are on here and you're listening and you don't follow a set macros or macro assignment or like, set amount that you are following, put macros below if you want to learn more about the macros and your macro distributions. Okay. I see Kat Wilson jumped in and Diane jumped in. Yeah, Debbie, I think I answered your question. So you're more like, if you were competing on the dance floor, then you would need a tiny bit more carbs for sure. So we will reach out to you, Unipolis. That's a cool name. So you put macros below and we'll reach out to you, because there is somebody has to follow you and know you. And yes, there's a macro calculations on how you can calculate all those like crazy Harris-Benedict equations. There's all of these things. However, those things don't calculate like the way you work out, how hard you work out, your genetic background, how much fat percentage is on your body right now, right? Like, and how much cardio currently you're doing. Like, so in order to know your macros, you have to have someone who actually gets to know you personally, that is understanding your background and then, making the right assignments from there. So that's how I believe you get the most customized macros. But to answer your question, Polis, I hope I'm saying your name right. You could get a macro calculator and just get just a textbook answer. But I would say the textbook answers a lot of times are not quite right. For a lot of menopausal women who come to me with where they calculate it from a website or something like that, and they still have a belly, they have trouble losing weight, I say it's wrong. I say it's wrong, because I don't agree with that macro assignment that was given to them based on their menopause, based on their hormonal profiling and the belly fat they're holding, right? So sometimes it's not like, how do you say it? It's not like the macro calculator says like, how much belly fat do you have, and then calculate your macros out. It doesn't do that. So this is why you need a person to help you with calculating out macros really accurately, okay, if you want it accurately. So put macros below if you want to learn more about macros, okay? Hi, Laura. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for popping in. All right, so we're going to go into the next question. So Natalie is going into the next FFF program as well. Natalie Chabot, I think. I hope I said her name right. So she asked about cardio, okay? And my disclaimer again is that is not one size fits all. Okay, everyone's different, but I'm going to give her a general answer. Her question is, what should be the place of cardio in your strength training program to optimize muscle growth? And should you be running like short distances or long distances? Okay, so her question is around cardio and be able to still optimize muscle definition. Okay, so my answer is you still want to for sure do cardio. That's for sure. Your heart is a muscle. So you want to make sure you keep that heart strong. So you still want to do cardio. You just don't want to do like overly too much. So what is this overly too much? Okay. So it ranges. Everyone's different, but I would say like you probably don't want to go like more than 30 minutes plus of cardio if your goal is to want to maintain and build muscle. But again, that is so general. Like if someone has more fat to lose and have more on their body and has certain things they're dealing with, maybe you could go past 30 minutes, right? And then if Natalie's pretty lean, I think overall, if you're super lean, maybe you shouldn't even do to 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like you might only need like a little bit, maybe like 10, 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So it depends on each person, but is there like baselines and generalities? Yes, there is. And so I would just say, you should always do cardio. Outside, I'll just take that back. Outside of special circumstances. So competition, maybe there's certain things that you're trying to accomplish during competition, or your very unique situation like ectomorphic. I know one of the gals I train is ectomorphic, and she is so lean that like it's almost impossible to put muscle on her. And so there were points where I had to really dial back some of her cardio. But like in general, overall health wise, you should be doing cardio to exercise your heart. And then if you are talking about like long runs versus short runs, which is Natalie's question, is you have to remember this. If you go over long runs, like really long, like an hour, a long time, you risk burning off muscle. That is true. So if you go for too long and you do too much cardio, then we are risking potentially burning off muscle. So we just don't want to go like for too long. I would prefer to see shorter runs and even like more interval training, right? More intervals so that you have more short bursts that you can really activate more fat burning potential, right? So but keep in mind, there's a range. There's always a range. So you just have to make sure you get the right range for your body, okay? Yes, I see lots of people jumped in. Barbara, AW, Teresa, awesome. How many of you on here, like let's have a show of hands. How many of you guys do regular cardio, and how much do you guys do? Put it below. How much do you guys do? Do you guys do like long runs, or like you guys do short cardio? How much do you guys actually do? So put it below and let me know how much you guys actually, like I just like to know, like the people that are watching. Now, she did ask one more question. She said, how to ensure we don't lose muscle or energy for strength training while running? Oh, actually, I guess she did ask it above, but I'll answer this question. How to ensure you don't lose muscle or energy for strength training? So the answer to this is proper nutrition. You have to ensure that you really feed those muscles. You really get the right amount of protein, carbs, and fat, which is for hormonal signaling, to make sure that you really maintain a good muscle base. Protein is very, very important, of course, but you also need proper carbs because you burn off a lot of carbs when you do cardio, right? So you do need to have good carbs to feed the protein, to have the energy to build those muscles, or to feed the muscles so that you have energy to build in the muscles, right? So I see Margaret says, I usually do 45 minutes of a seated elliptical because I have had a shattered ankle. Okay. Yeah. Like, and I see, it depends, right? Like I see the other thing you have to keep in mind is the intensity of your cardio, right? If it's a lower intensity, Margaret, maybe 45 minutes is okay. But I don't know. I would have to see your body composition to make a comment on that, right? Kat says 20 and 25 minutes before weight training, which is usually a good range. And then, yes, and then you walk 20,000 steps, Margaret and Jennifer. I do 20 minutes of stair stepping twice a week. Yes. And then you do your tennis and your swimming. Yeah, Jennifer. And for you, Jennifer, like, because I coach her, I know that she actually needs a tiny bit more cardio than she actually thinks. I know right now we already had increased it before she was doing less. And so like just based on her body composition and what's going on in her body. So that's why I say everyone is different. And just keeping that in mind. But if you want to make sure you maintain good muscle mass throughout doing cardio and everything like that, you just have to make sure you have very good macros, right? Most women, or a lot of women, are just kind of low. I would have to say, coaching so many women, I find most women are very low in their calories or very low in their protein intake. So just being very cautious of that, because if you don't have right calories or macros, then you will start to lose muscle, right? As you do the things, or you dance like Debbie, all of this, you could lose the muscle base that you have, right? Yeah. And Jennifer, cardio doesn't have to be your favorite. You just have to know why. Like, your heart is a muscle, and you could have a nice physique with nice muscles, but without you working your heart, that's not good. It means you're going to start having a weaker heart in the nice looking body. I always believe you need to be very well-rounded and be strong all around, right? We don't need a weak heart and then just a nice, nice physique. I definitely seen that before, where people have really nice physiques, but just terrible cardio. They get out of breath, just doing a little bit of cardio, but they look really amazing. But that's not good for long-term health, right? For their heart, right? So, I do no more than 30 minutes on my interval training. Okay, awesome. So yes, and obviously, like, if you keep it moderate, that's good. But if you're like a long distance runner, then you just have to be a little bit more careful. And if you want really specific results, what I'll say is a lot of this stuff isn't just like a one-shot deal, okay? So a lot of times, again, people look for this like magic answer. If I told you there's no magic answer, but the answer is within you and how your body changes. And this is where I talk about customization is so important, because the dialing processes are important. How you dial your cardio can change. How you dial your macros can change. How you dial your calories can change. How you progressively change your overloading of your workouts changes with your body. So remember, one thing is, whatever I say here is not like this is the answer, now I go do it. You have to remember, you can take some recommendation, but you still need dialing processes to get your most ideal physique, because if your body's going to change. So when it changes, does your nutrition needs change? Yes. If it changes, if your body composition changes, should your cardio signaling be different? Yes, right? So we just always have to keep these things in mind. I want to show of hands, everyone who's watching, how many of you have a dialing process in your workout routine and your nutrition? So if you have a dialing process, say yes, dialing process, or no dialing process. So, because I want you to think about it. I want people that are listening to, honestly, I always say this. I think people think there's always just this one answer for things, and they don't realize, like, a competitor, Oshona, you're on here. How many times did I dial you over 5 competition shows? Like, how many times? I don't even know. We dialed a lot. Like, over 5 competition shows, I think you probably would have been dialed 20 times throughout, like, each show, of like how many times I dialed you, right? Like it's impossible to say it was just one thing I gave you, correct? So like, it's like, that's why I keep saying this. I'm like, I don't want people to ask questions and go like, this is the answer. No, I had to dial Oshone so many times. I dial another client of mine, and she doesn't like me to refer her name. So another client of mine, like, what hers was like 10 times, like it. And I know Kat, we dialed you a few times. So there's dialing processes, right? And right now, Jennifer, yes, Jennifer Leah says, yes, dialing process. Thank you, Clarice, is in a place where there's some things that needs to shift. So I'm actually dialing her, but there's something more. I'm trying to watch what her body's going to do. And then I want to then do something else. So there's something in my mind that's going on. This is why I say, like, you have to know that you have to dial, you can't just go with one thing. So Margaret says no dialing process. Sandy says no dialing process. Michelle says no. Polis says no. So things for you guys to keep in mind is that's why you need customization for you. And try to stay away from just like one recommendation and just like, this is the answer. No, it's like, you can start here, but let's dial, right? Get customization on that. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, Oshone says it was almost a weekly dialing process close to competition. Yes. 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 I know we dialed a lot very close to competition, and she did 5 shows, right? And what she had at the beginning in her first 2 competition, I know is different than by the time she was in her 5th competition. So it was very, very different. So for sure, there was that different dialing processes. Hi, Rosie. I see you popped in. It's good to see you. Okay, so let's go to Rosalie. Rosalie, are you on here? So she actually asked, okay, so I'll read out her question because she said, I was doing a weightlifting program that did different body areas for 5 days with 2 rest days. A personal trainer at the gym recommended a different split program where you hit the body areas twice a week instead of one. He said progression would be faster. Then, of course, after my first circuit training session with him, my bad knee really acted up. So I guess she's asking here, like, okay, what's the right programming and, what is the best one? The answer, again, is there actually is no best one, okay? That trainer, okay, so a 5-day split is great. That's a lot of the standards of what I do and something I train a lot on a 5-day splits is great, but he's not wrong either. When you want to start to build more muscle, training it more often can be helpful, right? But it depends on a lot of factors. Here are the factors you have to consider, okay? Here are the factors you have to consider if you are training things more often, okay? Depends on your level of experience. If you don't have a high level of experience, doing that can cause more potential injury because you're fatiguing, and it's breaking down that muscle, and maybe it doesn't have enough time to repair, right? So it depends on your level of experience, okay? Do you have enough proper rest and recovery, which is something I talk a lot about. Is like, do you have enough proper rest and recovery? So how are the workouts spaced out? How are they positioned in your week, right? Because if they're, depending on what the trainer is doing in a circuit, are they hitting multiple things again within a too short time period of time? Because if it is, then you're going to be injured more likely, right? So do you have proper rest and recovery? Do you have proper spacing of your workouts and your programming based on what you train? So it depends on the programming. Again, it depends, right? And do you have proper warm-ups? Do you have proper cool downs, right? Because if you didn't properly warm up, cool down, more likely injury. And of course, I want to say this again, nutrition. So you could work out something more often, but if you don't have the right nutrition to back it up, you just are breaking down your body, right? Without rebuilding it. It's just breaking it down more and more. So it's the answer is there's a lot of ways to reach a destination. There's a lot of different methodologies to build muscle. And it depends on so many factors. So it really depends on, like, do you have a lot of experience with training? If you have a lot of experience with training and you've done 5 splits for a long time, maybe it's time to switch it up. If you're new and you haven't trained for a long time, or you haven't been consistent, okay, consistency is really crucial. If you haven't been consistent, then you probably should stick to something more long-term before switching it up, right? And sticking to more of a standard program, right? So hi, Tia. Hi, Lori. Hi, Phyllis. So things to keep in mind, okay? So and a question I have for all of you is, do you have a proper programming, or do you randomly select things and just do random things at the gym? So I want to know, the 10 eyeballs on here, are you do you actually have a set program you're following? So if you do, say you have a set program. If you don't and it's random, say random, okay? So I know who just joined my, I forget who just joined my trans. I don't know if it's Pam or now I'm getting names mixed up. One of the individuals I was talking to that joined my program, they said that they jump around all the time and they always jump around. They're always jumping around and they can never stable. Oh, I remember Natalie, jumping around and just like do everything and anything. And she just says for all the work she does, she is not seeing the muscle growth. And so if you have a set programming, Margaret says she has set, good. Oshone says set. Jennifer, yes, says proper programming, which is good. I hope so, Jennifer. You're in my program, so it's good. It's important. Yes, set program is really important. But if you're random, put random below, or you change it all the time, then I would encourage you to put random below, because if you change it all the time, then it's not necessarily the best thing possible, right? 5 days, 5-day split. Good. So you have a program. You have a program that you follow, Kat, and we're not jumping around all the time. Now, I get asked this a lot. So is it not good to get different exercises or whatnot? No, it is good. I would say like, okay, so there's different progressions. If you are more beginner and you're more near you haven't trained for years and years, and you're not like just like this, your body is built and has like this like expert way of like moving and all of this, you're still kind of near the beginner phases. I would say you would benefit much more from stable programming, because your body has to adapt and you need to progress the strength development and the training. When you start becoming more high level and you've done, like, your body is so adapted to every single exercise and it's done everything like a million times through for 5 to 8 years or, like many years. Yeah, you probably, it would benefit you to have some differences, because a squat on a squat rack is different than a squat on a BOSU, and it's different than a squat on, maybe, I don't know, on a machine or something like that. It's going to be different. I think that people who benefit more from a lot of changes in their routine are actually higher level athletes. If you are not a super high level athlete, you would benefit much more and you would see much better development from a very solid programming that you follow and you train and you train and you train. There is a quote, I think I'm going to butcher it, but it's from Bruce Lee, and he says, I rather do master one kick, something like 1,000 times. I'm totally butchering this quote, than to do 1,000 different kicks. He's like, I'd rather master one kick and practice it like 1,000 times than do 1,000 different kicks, right? And it's not the quote. That's the idea of the quote. I forgot the quote, but I remember hearing that and I was like, yeah, that's so true. People look for 1,000 different moves and 1,000 different programs, but the greatest masters master one to few moves and become masters at it, right? So, yes. Awesome. Oh, awesome, Kat. Awesome that you can still use that for yourself. I didn't know that. Yes, Melanie, Nolia, thanks for jumping in. Awesome. So, if you don't have the right programming for yourself and you are jumping around, or you don't know how to progressive overload yourself, how to progress yourself, I want you to put progression or progressive overload below if you feel like you need better progression in your workouts to get better results. Okay, so put progressive overload or programming below. Okay. And if you're doing great, that's awesome. Like I always say, if the results will always tell you will always tell you what's happening. So if your results are coming, you're seeing lots of muscle definition and growth, awesome. If not, that's when you want to start seeking the guidance and help of someone. Okay. So that's another question. Okay, sorry, we're still, and then she had a part 2 question. So she said, I have read that combining movements is good, like Arnold press versus shoulder press. Yeah, and so what routines are best to build and maintain muscle and prevent sarcopenia, which is losing muscle, okay? So I agree. I think that combination moves are your best bang for the buck, right? Like moves that does multiple things. I love Arnold press. I think that is an awesome move. It works many things together. I think that lots of compound moves, and the ones who train with me, you know, I love push-up rows and different types of push-up row variations, because it does multiple things at once. If you can do things like squat presses and things that combine big movements, multiple joints, multiple muscles together, I think that you would hit more at once. It challenges your body more. You got to use your core more. So yes, I do agree that you need good multiple compound movements in your routine. Okay. Now, I will say one thing is it depends on your goal. Now, you should always have compound movements, but the level of isolation in your programming will depend on how sculpted and how lean you want to get in terms of like, are you preparing for a competition show? I would say competitors and people who want even more sculpted in one area, then you need to isolate somewhere into your program. Compound is going to be awesome, and you should always have it. But as you become a competitor, or if you want to sculpt lines in, that's where isolation becomes extremely important. And the level of isolation it depends on the level of your goals. Okay, so just keep that in mind of like how sculpted do you really want to be. If you just want to be overall fit and healthy, then I would say go for the compound movements. Man, best bang for your buck. You don't have time, go for compound movements. Those are the best. So I like to know who here actually desires to be, okay, two camps, okay? Just overall healthy and fit, or sculpted. Okay, so if you want to be sculpted, I want you to put sculpted below. If you want to be just overall fit, you put overall fit. Okay, put it below, because that will identify to you how you should train, and maybe potentially the way your program should be designed as well. Okay, so do you want to be overall fit or sculpted? Okay, so Jennifer says sculpted, Nolia says sculpted, Margaret says sculpted. Okay, so you have to remember, and if you guys want to be sculpted, then there's a certain way that you have to then move into isolations and work into it, right? And that also changes in volume, in sets and reps. So this is why programming is very important, because let me tell you, power lifters are not looking, I mean, they want muscle. I'm not putting that, or Olympic lifters have a lot of muscles too, but like their goal isn't to necessarily like be sculpted. Like it's very rare I would walk up to a power lifter who's like, I want to be sculpted. Theirs is like, I want to be super strong and lift the biggest weight, right? So they have different training protocols. Their programming is different. Their reps and their sets are different. Their phasings are different as well, which obviously, as you know, I train Olympic and powerlifting and bodybuilding. So I train all three, so which means that I now understand they're all different. So I want to go back to what I said. If you are like, do I actually have the right programming for being sculpted? And you don't, then I want you to put programming or progression below, programming or progression, because it does change, because you could potentially be doing something that's making you strong, and you're strong, which is good, but it may not be making you sculpted, right? They're not totally the same. They're related, but not totally the same. It's a very complex topic, right? There's even power building, which is power building, powerlifting, and bodybuilding combined. So they're not totally the same. So you got to look at yourself. What results do you want? Do you have the results you want? And if not, then you want to put programming below, or progression below. Okay, I see everybody wants to be sculpted. It's funny, which is funny because I know that that's what this group is about, right? Is like the bodies, sculpting powerful bodies. All right, so the next question is going to relate to this a little bit. So Jennifer asked a question about the types of different competitions. She's considering competition. And so she wanted to understand what is the different categories within bodybuilding. Okay. Now, the first thing I'll start with this is that different associations have slightly different categories. It can, But there are general categories that are the same across many associations, because you're down in the States, and every I guess every area has their own, like every province here has their own association. Okay. So the first thing I'll say is it kind of goes in tiers, right? So the most common one, the one that we see a lot of women competing in, and that like you see the pictures and you're like, I want to do that very feminine look, but they look really like nice muscles, big shoulders. They got the like nice glutes, that is usually bikini. I would say bikini is a class that is large. Oshone, when you competed, was it you that had like 80 competitors to 100 plus competitors in that round? I just remember I've coached quite a few bikini, and whenever I went to watch them, the bikini category is massive, right? It's massive because that's the category that doesn't require as much muscular build. You're not going to be super muscular. It's just like you have this nice toned physique, but you have nice shoulders. Like there's a couple things they look for in bikini. It's like really nice shoulders and really nice glutes. Your butt, you want to have nice butt, nice shoulders, and small waist. And so the goal of bikini is really for you to have a very like feminine appeal. And this is, it's usually the biggest category. Yeah, Oshoni. I can't remember if it was you or if it was Natasha, or who it was, which other competitor I was training, but it was like crazy. It was like so many rounds of it because there were so many competitors on bikini. And it's the feminine category, you would say, a little bit more really more feminine, and you're judged on presentation, right? Like your hair, your makeup, your like your earrings, and how you pose, how feminine it is. And this is why you kind of walk in heels, right? And how is your walk and your booty, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So bikini would be where most people, like when they think of wanting to like look like a competitor, I would say most people tend towards that category. That's what they're thinking. Okay. And then the next category is fitness. There's fitness, wellness, and figure. So, okay. So actually I'm just going to say it all. So it usually goes from bikini, fitness, wellness, figure, physique, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding. So it kind of goes in this like category. Okay. So the next category over, when I say fitness, I did the fitness category. So the fitness category is a little bit, they should be a little bit more defined in like shape and symmetry. They pose like a figure girl. So a figure girl has all the quarter turns where they're posing like, they're spreading their lats, they're spreading their they're like engaging their back, all of that. It's funny because Oshone didn't have to actually pose her back, although she had a nice back. They didn't want her to actually pose too much of her back. They wanted to see her glute. And it was funny because when I was training her for posing, it was different because I had to train a lot of posing my back, and hers was not her back that she needed to pose. And so in fitness, like figure, you have quarter turns where you're more like a statue, right? You kind of like pose your lat spreads, your shoulders, and you do a quarter turn. And what they want to see is a lot of symmetry and starting to see some muscle definition and size on you. I would say between fitness and figure is definitely bigger. They're definitely a lot bigger than fitness, but fitness have they're judged on similar symmetry. And the difference between figure and fitness is that fitness, 50% of their marks comes from their fitness routine. So they have to actually perform a performance on stage. They actually have to do, some sort of routine that showcases their athleticism. Like that's where I trained my one arm push-ups. That's where I trained the like straddle holds and the L sits, right? All of those tricks, because in the fitness category, they want to see, can you actually showcase that you're fit? And so that is the routine is 50% of the mark, and 50% of the mark then comes from posing. Whereas in bikini, 100% of your mark comes from posing and your presentation, right? Your walk, your presentation. So if you are a bikini competitor, you could look great in your physique, but if you don't know how to pose, you'll lose it, because you're 100% of your mark is coming from how you present yourself, right? So it's more than just muscle definition, bikinis, presentation, fitness, 50% routine, 50% of your posing and your muscular development and your symmetry. And then there's figure, and I kind of added wellness in between because wellness is a new category. It's not in every association, but I know that wellness is one that is really favoring people with really muscular legs, really big legs. That is the category where you have an athletic frame, but they are looking at predominantly a large amount of like quad and glute development, which bodes well for some women who have very big legs and very, very muscular legs. That category is very good for that. But let's jump to figure, because wellness is still a pretty new category. So figure is where it is like you're definitely seeing a lot more size. You're definitely looking like pretty jacked, and you got size, you got symmetry. You start to see some striations, right, in your muscle. And I would say the size of figure girls are pretty big right now. So if I was to say and be honest, Oshone, and she knows this, she by the fifth competition, she should not have been in bikini anymore. She should have already started to transition to figure, because it wasn't that one of the feedback to you, Oshone, from one of the judges. She was getting too muscular. She was getting too muscular for bikini. Okay. And I think we were chatting about maybe eventually her going into figure. And then obviously she didn't continue to compete, but where her physique was at the fifth competition was a little bit too muscular for bikini, not as feminine as they would like in bikini, and she was starting to look more muscular to be in figure. So if you like really like that really jack look, really the muscle size, I would say figure could potentially be good for you, but you definitely have to train quite a while to get to that like size and the symmetry and the starting the striations and everything. Okay. And then obviously from figure, you have physique. Okay. Women's physique is amazing. Respect to these women. Oshone said, yes, lots of leg development, too much for bikini. Yeah. That was the feedback from the judge, right? Oshone had trouble with her legs before, and we worked her legs like crazy. But Oshone's build became too muscular for bikini. Actually, you know what, Oshone, now there's wellness category, maybe wellness, the legs, but yeah, so in terms of women's physique is different in that they do not wear heels, because it's now not about how feminine you look and all of that type of stuff. They are barefoot, they walk on stage, and they do full-on posing routines, and they're amazing, right? These are the ones that like flex their bicep, and they like do like these like pose and do like double bicep poses, and these are poses that we would never do in figure, right? Because figure and fitness, we're doing symmetry of our body, everything like that. But now in women's physique, they're looking at every specific line, the bicep line, your tricep line. They have tricep poses. We never do that in, again, figure or bikini, right? So in physique category, now they're really looking for full muscular development of every single muscle in your body. They want to see tricep line. They want to see your bicep line. They want to see striations. Striations is like all like the little like lines in your muscle, because you're so shredded, right? The size of physique woman is pretty big. Like they're pretty big. Like they've got, like, they're jacked, they're definitely jacked. And so it is a category that I don't think you can just go, I want to do physique. I think it kind of starts like maybe you want to do figure first, and then you work years and years and build that size to get to physique, right? Because it starts becoming really big. And then obviously women's bodybuilding is the most extreme, is the largest that you've seen. And is the category that has the most size, the most like striations, the lowest percentage body fat. Like this is like the extremes, right? And you know, respect for people who do it and know that that is going to be your life. Like it has to be your life, because I think the percentage body fat of women's bodybuilding is probably, I think for women, around 12% body fat or 13% body fat. That's really low. Whereas I would say for, you know, figure maybe 15% body fat, maybe around there. Fitness 16% around there, and then bikini is a little bit more like 17% body fat. So you can see the percentage fats drop as you go more and more into the extreme of bodybuilding. So yeah, so just to describe to you, Jennifer, obviously there's lots of different categories. Obviously you wouldn't start, and I know that's not your goal to be in women's bodybuilding. You don't usually start in physique. That's not where you start. You would usually, that's why most people start in bikini, I think, because that is an easy entryway. And don't get me wrong, bikini competitors have to work very hard. I just mean it's an easier entryway because it doesn't require you to build that type of mass that you need at the women's bodybuilding category, right? So it's a little bit easier entry, and then maybe you slowly work out to, who knows, fitness, wellness, and then if you're really committed for years and years, maybe work up to figure. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Jennifer, on that. It is different posings in bikini versus fitness and versus women's bodybuilding and things like that. In terms of your question about like, you know, where to find more information, I would encourage you to look in your local area's bodybuilding federation. Every local area should have their local bodybuilding federation, and there's different categories that is within that association, right? So sometimes they have different rules. Some associations like that you do some sort of T walk this way. Some just come straight, do a 4/4 turn, then walk to the side, right? Like, so every association has something different. So there's a lot of rules and regulations you have to check into to know what is it that specifically like you need to do for your association. Because I know certain rules up here doesn't apply down there, right? I want to note one more thing. Yes, very informative. Good. One more thing is, I believe was it the WW, the World, I can't remember their acronym, but the one that has, there's one association, the big association. I don't think it's WBFF. Is it? I might have this wrong, but there's one that has a category that is called the diva category. And again, I might have that name wrong. That category is the one, if you've ever seen, it's kind of like Las Vegas, where they wear all of the costumes and outfits and come on stage, like, you know, in the bikini, and they have costume changes. But that category is like about like glamour and like glamour and like kind of like your physique has to be on par, but it has more to do with like the dresses and the costume changes and all of that. So there's a diva category, I know. So I don't know too much about it, but I do know like it's a big thing, right? Down in the States. So, and they still have to be judged on musculature and symmetry and that overall feminine look that they're looking for. So the WBFF, maybe, I think so. If that's the category with the diva category, I think so. So like Miss America, yeah, where they have all the costume changes and stuff like that. It looks like a fun category, I guess. Like, yeah, if you want to wear lots of dresses and big costumes, that could be a fun one. So, yeah. So actually, I'm curious, who here actually wants to compete? If you are thinking of wanting to compete, I want you to put competition below. I'm actually curious, is there anybody on here who wants to compete, and put competition below? And if not, there's a live we did, I think, when I was interviewing Oshone, that says how to look like a competitor but not compete. And if you want to watch that live, then just put the live below and we will send that to you. This was a while back, but I feel like for a lot of people, it's that's the goal. Like, they want to look like a competitor, but they don't want to compete. And when they say they want to look like a competitor, What they're saying is they want to look like a bikini competitor. That is where 80% of women. There are 20% women that may want to go further and actually want to look like a figure girl, and I always liked figure. I've always liked figure. That's why I chose fitness, because I was actually considering figure. But I I went to fitness because of my dance background. And so it was like, I had a routine to do, but I like more muscle, and I like more muscle. So yeah, it depends on the person. So competition, Jennifer says, Karen says competition. Portia and Karen wants that live from you, Oshone, that we did of you, like where you look like a competitor, but you don't have to compete. Okay. So yes, I'm going to answer one more question here, Lisa. Yeah, Lisa's question, and then we'll wrap up here. So Lisa said, are there ways to reduce stretch marks and or excess skin after significant weight loss? So stretch marks are, I think you can improve the look of it. Can you completely get rid of stretch marks? No, I don't think you can completely get rid of stretch marks, but you can improve it. And I think I kind of answered this before a little bit on your question, Jennifer, around loose skin and things like that. Like you can have some, topical creams and lotions that have like retinoids and hyaluronic acid that can like maybe tighten the skin and improve collagen and elasticity of the skin. It can make it look better, but it won't completely get rid of it. I think I mentioned this before, like moisturizing regularly is important to keep that skin supple, and it does improve that look of the skin, right? Staying hydrated. There's things like microdermabrasion, chemical peels, laser therapy. Do these things, microneedling, like these things, I mean, I do know like people get microneedling for their faces and things. Like, do they work? I would say like they would help, like because you're kind of resurfacing the skin, you're doing cellular renewal of your skin. It would help. Now, would it completely get rid of your stretch marks? I would say probably not. It could improve your stretch marks. And I think the biggest thing, more than anything, if I had to say one thing about this, is if you are losing weight and you're in this journey of losing weight right now, make sure that you lose weight gradually, okay? Gradually, and not like fast, like just like quick, trying to do these like crazy diets, starve yourself, overdo cardio, like put your body under so much stress that like it's just like the amount that you're dropping, the skin cannot match it. So you want to make sure you are losing weight carefully, systematically, and there's a process to it. Now, you may actually wonder, because Clarice here helps women drop inches a lot, quite a lot. And that I want you to just take note of one thing. When I help someone drop a lot of inches, it's not necessarily weight. And some of you now are like, yeah, that's true. It's not necessarily weight. I can drop someone 40 inches off their body, and it's not like they might have only lost 6-7 pounds. Why? Because a lot of what I address is inflammation, is all the bloatedness and all of the things that are causing so much puffiness and inflammation in someone's system that I'm controlling, that's bringing down a lot of inches. And it's okay, because those inches are because of inflammation. We're not doing this like rapid weight loss that is like unhealthy for the body and stressing the body. So you can drop lots of inches if you do it the right way and address inflammation and all of that. But it's not like, how I'm sure all of you women listening know, like there's, you might have done it, we all done it. I feel like, I honestly personally think a lot of people do it when they don't know any better. They starve themselves, they don't eat, they go do tons of cardio, they're stressing their system, they're trying to drop weight really fast. That is the problem, where you're dropping weight super, super fast, and then your skin cannot catch up to it, right? But when you are doing body recomposition, which is what I teach, is you control inflammation, you lose fat, but build muscle. You're creating muscle tone in that situation where you're losing fat. So I believe body recomposition is one of the best ways to help you have a very healthy, if you want to call it weight loss journey, or I call it body recomposition journey, because if you extreme yourself to losing weight and don't build right muscle, then yeah, you're going to have sagging skin. You're going to have a lot of loose skin, right? And it does depend on how much weight you have to lose too. Of course, I understand that, but try to not do it unhealthy and too fast, right? So, yes, and Oshone that was a question I had, because women focus on the scale, on the weight, but still end up with high body fat. Exactly, right? So did you see what Oshone wrote there? People that focus on the scale and they just want to like, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. So then they're like dropping all this weight, which like probably is partly water and other things. And they are still not healthy, and they end up having more fat being deposited into their body. Like weight is very inaccurate. I'll just say that 17 eyeballs, weight is very inaccurate. It says so many different things. I weigh quite a bit. People actually don't realize I'm only 5'2". People like I weigh between 125 to 130. People are like, what? I know I'm tiny, but when you have solid muscle, you are like solid, and it doesn't, and a lot of like people who are like 5'2", they're like, okay, I want to be like 105, I want to be 110. And I always say to people, like, it isn't weight. What you want is body composition. You want body composition. You want good muscle base. Okay, less fat, good muscle base. And so for all of you who are listening, and if you want to learn more about body recomposition, not just losing weight, but body recomposition, I want you to put body recomposition below. Okay, body recomposition, because that is really, really crucial. Yeah. And yeah, to the 5'2" gals, exactly, right? Yeah, it's like I know a lot of 5'2s are like, no, I need to be 115, I need to be 110, or I need to be 105. And they're just very focused on weight. And I said, like, honestly, if you weighed more and you have really beautiful muscles, you would look amazing, phenomenal. And so don't focus on the scale, focus on body composition. Okay. Body composition is the key. So Margaret says she wants body composition. Tracy says body recomposition. Awesome. So we're going to answer one last question here because of time. So Lisa, yeah, you want to be strong. Rosanna, exactly. You want to be strong. It's not about like weight, right? So, so the last question here is Lisa had also asked, in addition to inflammation, what other impacts can occur in the body from artificial sweeteners? Okay, from artificial sweeteners. So I speak a lot about artificial sweeteners causing inflammation and all of that, but I guess she's trying to understand what other impacts there are for artificial sweeteners. I'm not a big fan of artificial sweeteners. You guys may know that if you follow me. So in terms of other impacts, now you have to know that the studies around these are always changing. There's always new research coming out. And artificial sweeteners are in your food because they are approved by the government, but doesn't mean necessarily I believe it's healthy. They're just approved, meaning they are considered safe overall, right? But I believe that a lot of artificial sweeteners, one of the things outside of like, let's just say inflammation, is it actually can affect your hunger signals, like your ghrelin and your leptin, and it can kind of like cause an imbalance in those ghrelin leptin. And without you knowing it, the artificial sweetener could potentially cause you to have more cravings and cause your appetite increase. Even though you think that you may be doing yourself a favor by going on artificial sweeteners, it may affect that. Now, can you say like for sure 100%? Well, like I said, there's studies always being done. They just have found there is correlations between if you're having too much of these artificial sweeteners and impacting appetite signals, right? And like those of you who are menopause, a lot of times you're like, oh, I have cravings, or I have like can't control my sweet cravings and different things like that, right? And you have to be careful because it could be that you think you're being healthy, but you're not, which is what Clarice always says. You think you're being healthy, but you're not. Also, it's possible that it potentially can alter your taste preferences. So if you do too much artificial sweeteners, it may impact the way your taste buds want things, and it may just crave more of those types of snacks and things like that versus like the healthier foods, right? How many of you who have eaten really healthy know that once you eat healthy, you crave healthier foods? It's a good thing. You actually start wanting, like, I want more of this. I want more vegetables. I want this. I want the healthy things. Why? Because your taste buds changed. Your taste buds changed. And so if you take too much artificial sweeteners, this is why I say, like, be careful when they say it's healthy. Is it healthy, right? Like, this is always gonna, like, it changes your taste preference. I spoke a lot about this, that artificial sweeteners can change your gut bacteria, right? Your gut microbiome. And it's been shown that it can disrupt the bacteria in your gut and cause bloating. So even though you may think you're doing yourself a favor by not having sugar, because it says sugar-free, right? You know that I don't know all the rules, but a lot of labels can say sugar-free if they use an artificial sweetener, right? So you're thinking it's sugar-free, but it's affecting your gut biome, and you have bloating, and you have indigestion and different things like that due to it affecting the microbiome in your gut. Now, I have to say, does it affect everybody? No, I know some people aren't affected by some of the artificial sweeteners, but I know many that are, and I don't like some of the artificial sweeteners, and I know it affects a lot of my clients too, in terms of their gut system, right? And I think just being careful, like, overall, to be honest, like, there's such thing as, I've spoke about this in terms of inflammation. Your body may not be allergic to something, because allergic means like you have a massive reaction. You need to, like, take Benadryl and things like that, and all of that. Like, you may not have a massive allergic reaction to things, but a lot of these chemicals, your body may have an intolerance to it, right? But you may not know. But that intolerance just kind of shows up in different ways, right? The intolerance can show up in ways like stall outs, right? Cravings, indigestion. Intolerance could be just like poor energy. You know what I mean? So, like, you don't have to be allergic and have massive reaction and have to stick an EpiPen in yourself or something like that. But you could still be intolerant to a lot of the chemicals. And this is what you have to be careful of. You guys may know aspartame is really bad for you. And it's in like a lot of the soft drinks, and is in gum as well. I know I was like helping a couple of people with their food logs, and I'm like, yeah, let me see what's in here. And like, there is a phenylalanine. Phenylalanine, I know if I've said that right, is an aspartame, which is a pretty harmful chemical, and it can do some harm to people if they have it, and it says it affects people with certain, like, genetic disorders, but it's a pretty powerful chemical in there, and so you want to be careful with all of this. Like natural whole foods is best. And when you want something that says sugar-free, be very careful what it means when they say sugar-free. Okay, so be very careful around that. And so I guess for the ones who are watching, if you are wanting to learn more about, like, inflammation and like what things cause inflammation, put inflammation below, because we are, I haven't announced it yet, but we are going to start to announce for our final run of the 21-day anti-inflammation system, which is going to come down the line pretty soon. But it is going to be our last round, because we are going to close out that course. That is going to be our final round of that. So if you want to learn more about inflammation, you can put inflammation below, and then there will be no more of that course. I'm closing it out. I'm going to do something different. So if you want to learn more about inflammation, or you want to make sure you don't miss out on learning about all of the different types of things that can cause your system inflammation, put inflammation below. Okay. Sorry, I didn't even see what you wrote. Oh yeah, okay. So Jennifer says, Splenda totally destroyed my gut flora several years ago. Not fun. Yeah, a lot of the artificial sweeteners do destroy your gut flora. So I mean, monk fruit I like. Xylitol in the middle. So any sugar alcohols, I'm a little bit yeah, I'm in the middle because there's different things that can happen in your body as well. So yes, if you're wanting to learn more about inflammation, I see Karen put inflammation below. And we're not ready yet to announce when we're going to do our final run, but that will be the final run of that program. So if you want to learn more, put inflammation below. And like I said, Sherry, if you're on here, I know you asked questions about the spine and like exercises for a spinal injury, but I just think that question is a little bit specific. So if there's more specific questions like that, Sherry, you can message me on that. Yeah, so hopefully that answered a lot of questions for all of you. And put below if you have more questions that you're wondering about, because maybe we can answer it afterwards, or I can save it for our next Q&A. And let me know if you enjoyed the Q&A. I like questions beforehand because that way I can address it faster down the line. And if you wait to bring your questions here, you might not have it answered. So if you do have questions where you feel like you need it answered, you can put it below, like I said, and I will reread it afterwards and maybe try to give you an answer. Okay. And also put below if you like the Q&A, if it was helpful for you, if it added value. And yeah, sending you all lots of hearts. And also tell me, do you like, I mean, I'm not sure we'll always do it earlier, but do you like the 4:30 time, or is it a little bit early for a lot of you? So yeah, let me know if you like the 4:30 time. So yeah, I will see you all next week, and good luck to all the anti-bloat challenge participants. We will celebrate with you on Friday.